Democrat Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez represents Southwest Washington in Congressional District 3, which includes Vancouver. The district leans Republican and voted for President Trump in 2024. Last week, Gluesenkamp Perez got a new Republican challenger, Washington State Senate Minority Leader John Braun. So what does she think of the challenge and the goings-on in D.C.? Congresswoman Gluesenkamp Perez joins us now, co-owner of an auto repair shop with her husband and fifth-generation Washingtonian. She has focused on working-class issues during her 2 terms in Congress. Congresswoman Gluesenkamp Perez, welcome back to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Ken.
What do you think about the challenge from the Republican, Mr. Braun?
I mean, honestly, I don't think about it too much. These cycles can run so fast, and I think we have serious challenges in Southwest Washington, and if we are just in this continual mindset of like mudslinging and going after each other, we're not going to get much done. So I'm really oriented around the task at hand of representing our values and our priorities and not, replacing them with a think tank's idea of what's a good idea in DC. So I'm staying focused on my job at hand.
We did have John Braun on last week just after he announced, and here's what he said. I want to get your reaction to it.
My opponent has been very prolific at press releases, but as I said earlier, turning those releases into actual change in Southwest Washington hasn't been as impressive.
What's your response to that?
I don't think John means that. I don't know. I think that our community has seen a lot of our values reflected, and it's been a really interesting thing, showing up to Congress with a different set of tools. I feel like the field's been more open to making change, whether it's reflecting our local values. I was just at a ceremony renaming the Bucota Post Office after the late Mayor Rob Gordon, who was a firefighter, a volunteer firefighter since he was 15 years old and died tragically of cancer after a lifetime of service. I was really excited to see some success in my work on right to repair. We saw the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, including a provision on military right to repair, which is wild to me that with the purchasing power of the U.S. military, I still hear from service members that they're on hold with, a manufacturer for 15 hours and don't have the technical service bulletins themselves at times. So these things might feel small to some people if you're really into politics or just the jargon, whatever. But I think in the real world, these kinds of things matter. Having a system that reflects the experience of small business owners and people who are trying to build houses and raise good kids, like that matters to people.
Regarding the federal crackdown on illegal immigration, from what you're seeing and hearing, is it disrupting the workforce in your district or hurting the economy?
I would say, the data is it hasn't been as impactful here locally. I've made sure my staff knows it's a priority that any constituent and citizen that's been involved, that we're proactively reaching out and trying to be supportive. And I think at a broader level, the thing that is really important that separates our country from other countries is a commitment to due process, that citizens have rights, and that due process is what protects us from a slide to corruption and cartels and all those things. So my focus is not just what's like coming down in the immediate sense, but what is worth having at the end of the day: due process, constitutional separation of powers, standing up for our Constitution and our values, and not just a reactionary response. But there certainly are times when you don't we can't not respond, especially when it comes to this assault on vote by mail. I've never voted any other way except for by mail. And it's not surprising to me that it's people on the East Coast who think it's a good idea to take away vote by mail. Like, we can't just take a subway to a polling place. We can't just take time off from work and stand all day in line. And so ensuring that everybody has their voice heard in this process and our values are reflected, that's an urgent task.
In April, you voted for the SAVE Act. That's the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, which would require in-person proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Do you still support that?
I mean, U.S. citizens should determine the outcome of American elections. I absolutely stand by that. It is also true, and this is an underreported fact, that the SAVE Act included an attestation clause. So if you weren't able to go down and hand in that document, you could sign. You'd risk perjuring yourself, but you could sign a statement that said that you are an American citizen and you have the right to vote. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind within the SAVE Act.
And that's now being considered in the Senate, so we still have to see an outcome on that. Opponents say it will suppress the vote among eligible voters. Since it's already illegal for non-citizens to vote, people cited the case of wives who changed their last names could have trouble with documentation. Was that something that you considered?
Yeah, I actually went round and round and round with lawyers from committee staff, partisan committee staff, nonpartisan committee staff. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but the constitutional lawyers didn't agree. And that really bothered me, that partisan staff was giving me a different answer than nonpartisan legal counsel. But ultimately, considering that it has an attestation clause within the bill, a lot of that lack of clarity was less relevant than the fact that there was a attestation clause.
You're co-chair of the Blue Dog Democrats, moderate Democrats to the right of the liberal wing. How does that define your politics, and how has that played out in D.C.?
Well, particularly in the Northwest and Washington State, a lot of times last people voted Democrat was when Blue Dogs were real prevalent. It's a relationship to land and to work of respect and stewardship and necessity. And I think it's a local lens. It's not that we're here to fight for a generic brand environmentalism, but that we love the Gifford Pinchot. That is a life for us and our families. And that local lens, I think, is much more powerful. And if you could get more members of Congress to show up with a real commitment to the thing itself and not the commodification of the thing, you get better federal policy. And so I'm very excited about that, and reinvigorating just the respect for work and the trades, and for a local understanding and not a nationalized, slick production of values.
We're talking to you in advance of a town hall that you're having in Skamania County, and you've had a couple of contentious moments in your town halls recently. Some of your constituents upset with your positions, including the SAVE Act, which we talked about, and your support for Israel in the context of the war in Gaza. So how do you respond to some of your constituents in your district who have issues with those issues?
Well, I respect people's right to make their voice heard, and that's why I continue to hold these. This is my 17th in-person town hall since being elected to Congress. It is my, I think, 7th this year, this Congress. And so people have the right to have their voice heard. And it's also important that we are not just walking down and, going along with this brand of patriotism that's just yelling at each other. Like, I'm trying to invigorate a deliberative democracy where we have space and time to think about what is worth having at the end of the day, and listen with humility and curiosity to what folks across Southwest Washington, what our neighbors, what people at the mailbox or the dump or, daycare drop-off are talking about and what matters to them. And so I am very committed to continuing to hold in-person town halls and going to where people are and hearing from the broadest variety and spectrum of the American experience, not just people that have, the time on their hands to be able to go and spend 20 hours a week on politics, but people that are in the trenches of keeping the wheels on the bus of the American economy.
Congresswoman, we are out of time, but I want to give your reaction to this. This will be one of the congressional races the Republicans think they can flip to maintain control of Congress. How important is Washington Congressional District 3 in the overall landscape of what's happening in D.C. right now?
I mean, so many seats have been gerrymandered, and so many Americans have been robbed of their right to have a voice in lawmaking. And that's the real offense to me, is that there are so few seats like this. There are so few members of Congress who are representing a seat where a member of the other party won at an executive level. And this is not, it's not a Biden plus 20 or a Trump plus 20 country, but so many of these seats are. And so, I'm not a political strategist, but I do know that, single party control of any area it's not a good thing for a deliberative democracy, and one where people have nuance and space to think creatively about how we get what we believe is worth having in life for our kids, for our families, for our land. So I think that's the broader context, but it's definitely clear that, national Republicans and the people that write their checks, they want this seat back.
Congresswoman Gluesenkamp Perez, thank you for joining Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you, Ken.